So today we are going to discuss about initial load. So initial load is the process of loading the source database data into the target database initially. So that process is known as initial load. Now for performing the initial load, you have various options, such as at the database level you have export import, or you can do arm and duplicate, or you have transportable table space, or you can use Oracle Goldengate as well for performing the initial load. Now how Goldengate initial load is different from its database utilities, let us see that. So first of all, with Oracle Goldengate, remember Goldengate is a Goldengate initial load is a feature which can replicate the data, which fetches the data from table and applies the data into the target table. So in that scenario, you don't have any, means the first prerequisite is the structure of table should be present on source and target. So with export, import, or arm and duplicate, if the structure of table is not created, that could be created. However, with this Goldengate, it is mandatory to have the first prerequisite is structure of table should be created on both source and target. Remember, Goldengate initial load can just transfer the data. So suppose on the source table there are 10,000 rows, only those 10,000 rows could be transferred. Apart from that, no constraint, no grants. In simple words, metadata cannot be transferred. Goldengate can only transfer the data from source database to target database. So if the structure of table is not present on the target database, in that scenario, your initial load process is going to fail. Now let us see how you perform the initial load. So consider, let us see, select star from DEPT1. So on source we don't have any rows, and on target we have how many rows? Select star from DEPT2. So we have 6 rows. Okay, so let us truncate the tables on both source and target. Sorry, on target. Anyways, on source we don't have any data. So we'll be truncating the table on DEPT1, DEPT2, sorry. Truncate table DEPT2 and truncate table DEPT EMP2. So I have truncated both these tables on source and target. Now prior to start the initial load, remember your replicat process on target should be stopped before you can start the initial load. Okay. So now our replicat is stopped on target, and select star from DEPT2 and select star from EMP2. So there are no rows selected. Now let us insert, let us see, select star from EMP1. So let me do @dml.sql. So there is some rows which has been inserted using dml.sql on source. So if I see select star from DEPT1, there are 4 rows, and select star from EMP1. There are 7 rows on source. Now on target, you don't have any row. So this process of loading the initial data is known as initial load. Now in our scenario, we have only 4 and 7 rows. So it doesn't matter, we could use any process. However, in ideal scenario, there would be lot of data which you will be doing. So let us do this initial load of 4 and 7 rows using Oracle Goldengate. So what steps to follow, how to follow, let us see. So first and foremost requirement is your replicat on target before starting the initial load should be stopped. Your extract and data pump could be started, however your replicat should be stopped. The reason being why replicat should be stopped is whatever transactions you are doing in the meanwhile, those will be captured by the extract process. However, you cannot apply them by the replicat process because there is no initial load of data. Consider a scenario wherein you have 500 GB of source database already present, and today you decided that you will have the replica, means you will create a secondary database which will be replicating data from source to target. So this database is running for past 2 years and so far has 500 GB of data. On target you don't have any data right now. So Goldengate can take care of the transactions or changes which are happening from in the database from today 23rd of March 2017. However, you first need the data prior to 23rd of March, that is 500 GB of data. So first of all, you'll perform the initial load of 500 GB. But before starting the initial load, there is a process which you need to follow. So what you will be doing, you will be first of all preparing the environment. In the first step, you will be preparing the environment by installing Oracle Goldengate on both source as well as target database. Remember, when you are creating a secondary site, your primary site is going to be connected to the application, and application is going to continue the change to source database. So now you will prepare the environment, you will install Oracle Goldengate. Along with that, you will create the extract process and data pump process on the source database. However, on target, you will create the replicat process. So your source and target will be your source. On source you will create extract and data pump, and on target you will create the replicat process. So in the first step, install Goldengate, create extract data pump on source, create replicat on target. In the second step, what you will do, you will start the extract process and data pump process. So what will happen on 23rd of March at 10 p.m. in the evening, 10 p.m. at night I should say, whatever changes are happening from 23rd of March 10 a.m., your extract is going to capture those changes, and you can start the data pump which will write data to remote tray. Next, you're going to note down the SCN of the database. So consider, let me note down these steps. So first of all, you will prepare the environment by installing Oracle Goldengate and Oracle database. In the next step, what you are going to do? Create the extract and data pump on source and replicat on target. Okay, now your application is going to make the changes. Now your initial load process, whatever strategy you are using, like export, import, armament, duplicate, that is going to take around, that will take some time, right? 10 hours, 8 hours, maybe more, maybe less, depending on size of data which you are doing initial load of. However, during that time, your application is connected to the source database. You're not going to take downtime just for creating the secondary site, right? So there must be some extraction of data on source side which will replicate the change once initial load completes. So what you will do in the second step, you will start the extract and data pump process on source and write data to remote tray. So whatever changes are happening from 24th March, 23rd March 10 p.m., those changes will be recorded. In the next step, what you'll do, you'll note down the SCN of database. Select current underscore SCN from V dollar database. Now consider this comes as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Current SCN of database is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In the fourth step, you will start the initial load process and take the consistent image on, means you'll do the initial load till SCN 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you will start the initial load process and do the initial load on target database till SCN 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Post 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in fact before 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, your extract is capturing the data. Consider when you started the extract process, the SCN was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. And when you checked on database, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So definitely extract process is going to capture the, means you have started the extract process before the initial load. So definitely, why do you want to start the extract process before initial load? So that you're not missing any data. As soon as you start the initial load, next step would be wait for completion of initial load. Now suppose you started the initial load at 10 p.m. on 23rd March. It takes 10 hours to complete. It is 500 GB of data, it takes 10 hours. Now here by initial load process, we mean that we can use any utility like database utility, export import, or Arman duplicate, or transportable table space, or Goldengate utility, or any other way which feels comfortable to you. Now this process, whatever step you choose, whatever utility you choose, it takes 10 hours to complete. So by 8 a.m. on 24th March, your initial load process will complete. That means that by 8th a.m. on 24th of March, your target database is in the consistent image which was there at source on 10 p.m. of 23rd March. Correct? So your target database now contains the data till 10 p.m. on 23rd of March which was there on source database. Now your application was still connected. That means there were a lot of changes which were made during the night. So how will you apply those changes? So see, your extract process was capturing and data pump was starting. So what you will do in the next step, you will start the replicat process and it will apply the data post SCN 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So though extract has captured the data of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as well. But when replicat will try to apply, it would be a duplicate transaction on target database. Though in 12c automatically duplicate transactions are suppressed. So you need not to worry from 12c onwards. But if you want to be sure, you can start the replicat process, alter replicat int rep after CSN 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what will happen? Replicat process is going to apply the data onto target database after SCN 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there is no duplicacy of data. So suppose this process of applying the incremental changes from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. took 2 hours. So that means that by 10 a.m. in the morning on 23rd of March, 24th of March, your both source and target databases will be in sync. And from now, this point onwards, your real-time transactional changes will be applied from source to target database. So while performing the initial load, you have to follow the steps. So first of all, prepare the environment by installing Oracle Goldengate on both source and target. Next is create the extract data pump process on source and replicat on target. Next step, start the extract and data pump. Then note down the SCN, perform the initial load of source database into target database till that particular SCN noted in above step, and then once initial load completes, start the replicat, wait for the two databases to be in sync, and then your normal process will continue. Similarly, using the same process you use while you upgrade or migrate the databases. We say that Goldengate supports zero downtime migration and upgradation. How is that possible? So consider, suppose you are migrating from AIX to Linux server. So you consider your source database as AIX server and consider the target over here in Linux server. So what you'll do, you'll perform the same steps what we have followed. You'll prepare the environment by installing Oracle Goldengate on AIX server as well as Linux server. You'll add the extract and data pump on an AIX server and replicat on target migrating 12C server. Next, you will start the extract process and data pump process on AIX server. Once you start, note down the SCN of the database on source database.
SCN means what? CSN, right?
Okay, SCN is system change number.
Yeah, but then that's from the redo log.
Yeah, that's from the redo log. So SCN converts to CSN in Goldengate. The same SCN is referred as CSN in Goldengate. CSN refers
So what are you?
commit.
It's a.
So at the Goldengate level, it is referred as CSN. Same.
It's the same value.
The value will be same. There would be no difference.
Okay.
Only thing is, at the database level, it is known as SCN. On the Goldengate level, it is known as commit sequence number. The reason being, SCN is generated for every transaction. However, CSN Goldengate follows it in the form of commit sequence number. So whatever transactions are there, Goldengate replicat applies in the same order they have been committed on source. So SCN is also moving forward, right? SCN is like, suppose right now current SCN is 1 2 3 4 5 6, next would be greater than 1 2 3 4 5 6, but not lesser than. In the same way, a Goldengate refers to same as commit sequence number. The value of SCN and CSN is same, but the way they refer Goldengate and database, there lies the difference. So database level we call it as SCN, and Goldengate level we call it as CSN. So note
Okay,
down.
Okay, Ashish. Yeah, I'll let you complete and then I'll
Note down the SCN of the database. Once you noted down the SCN, load the consistent image of source database to target database till a particular SCN. As soon as your initial load completes, whatever changes happen during the time your initial load was happening from AIX to Linux server, apply those changes from source to target server, that is AIX to Linux server. And then as soon as both the databases, the source database and the migrated database get in sync, you just need to switch over your application from AIX server to Linux server. That is the only downtime you require. But at the database level, you don't require any downtime. That's why we say Goldengate supports zero downtime migration and upgradation.
Okay, Ashish, I have questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say I want to take a scenario here that I have doesn't matter which environment. Let's say both I have Linux. Of course, this database on A is running from 2 years. It has 500 GB data. B has nothing. I want to do a match, like, replication. So I take an export. Okay, let's say I start the export at 10 o'clock tonight, as you said. Okay. So I didn't get that. So किस समय का SCN लेंगे जब हम एक्सपोर्ट चला दिया, जैसे मान लो हमने 10 बजे रात को चला दिया, ठीक है ना? ऑब्जेक्टिव है कि दोनों को हमें सिंक करना है. देन व्हाट? अब उसके बाद हम डेटाबेस में गए, सेलेक्ट स्टार फ्रॉम वीडियो डेटाबेस, और हम गोल्डन वो एक्सपोर्ट चलाने के बाद देन वी विल सी द SCN नंबर, एनी SCN नंबर, or
no, see what is the step mentioned before you start the initial load. Before that you take the SCN. So you will complete the initial load till that particular SCN only.
So now let's say I started this, the database is running, I take an SCN number, it's लगातार generate कर रहा है SCN.
Right.
Okay. So I just say I am ready to take the export. मैंने SCN number लिया 123, ठीक है ना? And then I started the export.
Right.
Okay, I started the export. Now export is taking time, and it's हो रहा है, export हुआ, वो 10 घंटे में export complete हुआ. अब now I still am not sure कि किस समय का SCN लेंगे, कैसे syncing होगी.
So while giving the export command, you have the option of flashback_SCN. So you need to provide that, but whatever SCN you have noted down in step number 3, you have to provide that SCN in step number 4. Otherwise, if you don't provide the SCN over there, what will happen? The export will be taken till what time so there won't be a consistent export which
that's what we are trying to see. No consistency तो चाह रहे हैं, और collision नहीं हो या duplication ना हो. That is what we are trying.
Consistent backup. You have to take consistent export. That's why we are noting down the SCN, and you will do the initial load till only that particular SCN. The reason is that
only that. नहीं समझा. From that SCN or only that particular SCN? पहली बात तो ये जैसे EXPDP
till this SCN. You will perform the initial load till SCN 1 2 3 4 5 6.
SCN, what is SCN? SCN वहाँ से शुरू होगा ना export. I will start taking the export from that SCN number. कि हमें
why you would start taking the export from this? So if you start taking the export from this particular SCN, what about the earlier data? How will you get the earlier data? What is the objective of performing the initial load? The objective of initial load is to
syncing.
Do the initial load from SCN number 0 to SCN 1 2 3 4 5.
Got it.
That is our
okay. So I take an export. I start, what is the command क्या होगा? EXPDP blah 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 dump file is equal to something, and then what is, do you remember Ashish, export के साथ कैसे करते?
There is a parameter flashback_SCN. You can do EXPDP -. So there is a flashback_SCN parameter. So you can use that.
Okay, so I'll do an export and it will be up till that point.
It will be up to that. It will be up to that particular SCN.
And then जो हम आगे चल के जब हम extract को चलाएंगे तो फिर हम उस SCN के बाद चलाएंगे.
Yeah. So we'll be running the extract after that SCN. So that's why for doing that we use the command alter replicat name after CSN and CSN number. So here why we are doing this? The reason being we started the extract and data, we started the extraction of data before the means there are some transactions which would be common, which would be extracted by the extract process, and which are already applied to the target database, right? So there would be few transactions. So to overcome that, you can start alter replicat intrep after CSN 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now from 12.2 Goldengate, there is a new feature. It is automatically integrated. This initial load process is automatically integrated with EXPDP and IMPDP. So automatically when you start the replicat process, you need not to give from 12.2 onwards, you need not to give after CSN. Automatically Goldengate integrates itself with the initial load process and then it starts from that particular. And there is one more feature, the duplicate transactions are automatically suppressed. So as the technology means Goldengate is getting advanced, we need not to worry about this after CSN. However, if you are
One
using the earlier version, in that scenario you will have to use this parameter.
Okay, that's so. One more thing, Ashish. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong. So, जो extract और replicate both side का जो SCN number है वो same ही होगा ना? I mean,
yeah, so
normal
the transaction which would be returned in the extract and replicate will always contain the same kind of
same SCN numbers.
same SCN. So that's why that is the reason how it will be able to.
तभी तो हो पाएगा. Correct. Achha, this is the way I got it through export. Export में we can mention an SCN number and of course take the export up till there. Import कर दिया वहाँ तक उस dump को और उसके बाद Xtrail में we can start after that. So that the trail is capturing everything after that and then replicate से apply करा दिया. Correct?
Then replicate applies it from after till your initial load took 10 hours. So our main motive of using Goldengate is a database, primary database should not be shut down. It should be up and running. Application users who are connecting to database, they should not face any issue. Our primary motive is that. So within 10 hours, there would be lakhs, thousand, one transaction which may happen. So you should ensure that your database is highly available. And this process ensures that your database is always highly available.
Yeah, because it's running, while the export is going on also. So when, let's say, let me understand this again, if there is any missing piece to it. कि extract हमने, EXPDP हमने एक SCN number 1, 2, 3 तक लिया, तब तक हमारा the extract is still going on. Then, the database is up and running. So when I start the extract, it will be after that SCN number 1, 2, 3. So it will be, let's say 1, 2, 4.
No.
Correct?
Before start, okay. In the step 1, we are starting the initial load in step 4. However, we have started the extract process in step 2. So definitely extract process must have captured some transactions which are already done by initial load, which are already implemented onto the target database during the initial load process. And that is the reason to remove the duplicate transactions. To eliminate the duplicate transactions, we are using alter replicat after CSN and CSN number. Okay.
Extract पहले ही चल जाएगा. Extract को पहले से ही चला देंगे. उसमें कोई ये नहीं लिखेंगे कि कौन सा CSN number से लो. उसको चलने दो.
See, the reason being, okay,
I got it.
If you start the extract later on after you start the initial load, what will happen? Now suppose the
छूट सकता है.
Initial load when you starting is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now now consider a scenario when you're starting the extract later. So when you start the extract, the SCN was 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 0. So how will you get the SCN 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 9? So you may lose some transaction in that scenario. So to overcome the possibility of losing any transaction, you have to start the extract process before starting the initial load process.
Correct. करेक्ट, उसमें कुछ भी SCN देने की जरूरत नहीं, बस उसको एक्सट्रैक्ट कर दो, लेकिन रेप्लिकेट में जब लगाएंगे उसे, देन वी विल ओनली से आफ्टर दैट,
after CSN. Now
after the CSN.
I am repeating, from 12.2 onwards it is no
I
longer
got it.
required. Prior, in fact, from 12C, if you are using the version 12C, it is, you can choose to ignore it. However, if you are using prior version, in that scenario you will have to use it, or
Now,
you may have to use handle collisions, because there would be duplicate transactions, right? So if suppose at SCN, which you are capped, which 1 2 3 4 5 4, there was an insert. Now that insert is already applied during initial load. Now when you start the replicat, your replicat will fail, stating that the row already exists. So to overcome
हैंडल कोलिजन तो लगाना पड़ेगा सर, वो तो लगाएंगे, वो तो लगाना पड़ेगा रेप्लिकेट साइड में, यू नो, फॉर डुप्लीकेशन अवॉइडेंस. अगेन नाउ दिस आई अंडरस्टूड. EXPDP के साथ करेंगे कैसे, मुझे समझ में आ गया. अगर हम गोल्डन गेट का इस्तेमाल, इफ आई एम यूजिंग गोल्डन गेट फॉर इनिशियल लोड एज वेल एज फॉर यू नो द व्हाट यू कॉल द सिंक्रोनाइजेशन, ठीक है ना, तब कैसे करेंगे आशीष, इसमें कैसे करेंगे आप बताओ कि हाउ इज दैट डिफरेंट.
we haven't discussed so far the Golden Gate initial load. We are going to discuss that now. Okay.
Yeah, but the EXPDP I understood.
So the same process, the process will always be same. In fact, for even if you are, the steps are going to be same, even if you are using export import, if you are using IMPDP, if you are using Armand duplicate, or if you are using transportable table space, or if you are using this Golden Gate initial load, the steps will always remain same. Only thing which will be different would be how you are performing the initial load. So there are many ways to do that. There is Golden Gate as well, which you can do. Now how to perform Golden Gate initial load, we are going to discuss that. But the same process, same steps are there when you are performing Golden Gate, when you are upgrading or migrating Oracle database using Oracle Goldengate. In that scenario as well, you will be following the same steps. So let us now do what is Golden Gate initial load, how you are going to perform Golden Gate initial load. So first and foremost requirement with Golden Gate initial load is your replicat on target should be stopped. So we have already installed Oracle Goldengate on G-Gate 1 as well as G-Gate 2. Our processes are already configured. These are the chain synchronization processes which are already configured. So prior to starting the initial load, we have to start the extract and data pump. However, ensure that the replicat process on target is stopped. Next is you have to start the initial load. Now we are going to do the initial load using Golden Gate initial load. So how is Golden Gate initial load different from Oracle export import or other utilities? The first and foremost requirement for initial load is your source and target structure should be present. So your table metadata should be present on both source and target. Remember, Golden Gate initial load can just transfer the data from source and target. It cannot transfer the metadata information. It cannot transfer constraints. It cannot transfer grants, or any metadata information could not be transferred using Golden Gate initial load. So now, what is the difference between Golden Gate initial load and normal chain synchronization? So the difference between Golden Gate initial load is, in Golden Gate initial load, there are only two processes, extract and replicate. There is no data pump, there is no trail files. So you only have extract and replicat. So extract process directly reads data from the tables and apply it on target database. So there is no storage of this data anywhere. The extract process reads the data directly from tables in contrast to your online chain synchronization extract, which reads data from your transaction logs. In Goldengate initial load extract, it reads data from your tables directly. There is no storage of data anywhere. It directly feeds that data from source table to target replicat, and replicat applies it to target database. So how do you create these processes? Let us see that. So first of all, you have to define your source and target. So our source is DEPT1 and EMP1, and target is DEPT2 and EMP2 on GGate2, and schema is GG training 2. So now on source, what you will do? You will create a extract process, add extract name, source is table. So add extract name, source is table. Now remember, you add the you can give any name to the extract process. It should be 8 characters long. And see, we are providing source is table over here. Press enter. Now once you have added the extract process, next is you need to create a parameter file for this. Edit param load 1. So first line of every process is same, process type and process name. Next is user ID. User ID is let me copy from int.exe. Edit param load 1. So user ID. Next is you have to give target details. So you have to give remote host and manager port over here. So remote host is 192.168.56.103, and manager port of target is we need to see from GGate2 by doing info mgr. So target manager is running on port number 7809. So 7809. Next is RMT task replicat, and group is load 2. We are going to discuss this. So it means that remote task is replicat and load 2 process is going to apply it to target database. Let us see this parameter. I'll make you understand once we configure the target process. And then you need to provide the table specifications. So table pdb1.ggtraining1.dept1, table pdb2.ggtraining1.emp1. Put semicolon, save this and close this. Now your source side configuration for initial load is completed. Your source side configuration for initial load is completed. Now we'll jump to target and create the replicat process over there. As I mentioned, only 2 components are there while performing initial load using Goldengate: extract on source replicat on target. There is no data pump, there is no trail files, and the source for extracting the data is table. So extract will directly read the data from table and apply it to target database. So now on target, we need to do add replicat load to. You can give the name again up to 8 characters, any name. I'm mentioning it as load 1 on source and load 2 on target. And special run. You have to give initial load replicat process as special run. Press enter. So it says replicat added. Once you have added the replicat, now you have to create the parameter file for this replicat. So do added param load to. So here you will provide, first line is always process type and process name. Next is user ID. User ID I'll copy from view param intrep. I'll copy from here. It would be same. Copy. So I'll do added param load to. So do this. Next is assume target defs. This parameter is used when this parameter you use when the structure of tables between source and target matches. So from 12.2 onwards, automatically you have to use assume target defs. The reason being the metadata information is contained in the trail files. More on this we'll be discussing from during the, I think most probably during the end last session.
Assume target depths we don't need in 12C. Is that what I said? क्या कहा अभी आपने?
No, we need assume target defs in 12C as well.
So we always needed it.
We always need assume target defs. It means that assume the target definition similar to source. Now once you have done it, then you have to give map gg training 1 dot pdb 1 dot dpt1 to target gg training 2 dot pdb2 dot dpt2. Similarly, map gg training 2 dot 1 dot pdb1 dot emp1 target gg training 2 dot pdb2 dot emp2. So a mapping.
Ashish, help me recollect. This assume target def is what? It's always in replicate or
it's always
where a parameter.
It's a
not in pump, right?
Replicate. See, assume target def means assume the target definition that it is similar to source.
Got it. Thank you.
Save this, close this. So once you have done this, now see, remember one thing, the initial load process won't be shown to you when you do info all. They have been created, their checkpoint file will be present, their report file will be created, their parameter file will be created. However, they won't be shown into info all. The reason being, it makes sense. You will be creating the initial load process only for once. They would be used only for once. After that, they won't be required anymore. So when you do info all, though they are actively present, you can find their presence in all the parameter files. You can find their present everywhere in every directory which are required for Goldengate functionality. However, they are not shown when you do info all. In info all, only online chain synchronization processes are shown. So now, once you have done the configuration, your initial load configuration between source and target is Done. Now you have to start the load one process. Now before starting the load one process, let us discuss about this line. What does this mean? It means that RMT task is replicat and group is load 2. So if you see the line in Gate 2, when we added replicat, we gave the, while adding the replicat of initial load, we give special run. Now what happens over here? As soon as we'll start the load one process and on source, your load one process will communicate with target manager which is present on this host on this port number, and then this port number will start the load to this manager process on target will automatically start the load to process on target. So when we'll be starting load 1, automatically load 2 will start and will finish the initial load. So let us start the load 1 process. You will see that we don't need to start load 2. Let us start load 1. So when I start load 1, you can check info load 1. See, right now the status says starting. Okay, so it has stopped without starting even. It has stopped without starting at all. So let us see view report load 1. So it says access denied. The reason being, we have to, while performing the initial load, in manager parameter file, we need to use parameter, this parameter. Access rule program star IP address allow. So we need to allow the connection being made for initial load. So now I just included this parameter on target, but I didn't refresh the manager parameter file. Remember, to make the changes effective in the parameter files, you need to stop and start. However, this condition does not apply for manager. Manager process parameter file could be refreshed by firing this command refresh mgr. So now automatically the change which I made after starting the manager, you will find that automatically now the parameters are effective. Now I'll start load 1. So when we do info load 1, now it still says it is starting. Again it is stopped. It hasn't processed anything. So let us again do view report load 1. It says extract appending. It says replicat cannot apply transactions to catalog GG training 2 while it is logged into catalog PDB2. So let us go to target and see info view param load 2. So we are giving, I think, okay, c ## gg user 2, password is welcome 1, correct. View report load 2. Replicat cannot apply transactions to catalog GG training 2 while it is logged into catalog PDB2. So it is view param load 2. Okay.
Ashish, okay. Could you is it something to do with
No.
the SQL plus where you have logged in?
No. See. Okay.
I
Edit.
think it has to do with mapping.
It is mapping. See what I
Right.
have done. I have given GG training 1 in place of database name, and in schema name I have given PDB1. So we have to give PDB1 dot GG training 1.
Okay, so the mapping was wrong.
Correct. Mapping गलत है ना?
Mapping was wrong, correct. PDB2 dot GG training 2.
One more thing, Ashish, while we are doing that, जहाँ allow लिखा था वो मैनेजर में, वो replicate का मैनेजर था, वो allow क्या था, वो जो extract का IP एड्रेस था.
Sorry?
Extract, the manager, you had that allow in the manager earlier. I think it was the replicate side manager, correct? That allow was for the IP address of the extract manager, correct?
Correct,
Allow?
correct.
Okay.
So means if you ask me why it comes, I'm really not sure, but the solution is present. This solution means this issue, access denied error, it comes only during initial load, and the solution has been provided on support.oracle.com. So I think basically it comes because the two servers are in different subnet mask. So as per that note, it is being written over there.
This needs to be only added on the replicate side.
Yeah, on the target side.
Obviously.
You are connecting from source to target. So
correct. ठीक है. Got it.
Target PDB2 dot GG training 2. PDB2.gg training 2. So I guess now the mapping is correct. PDB1, yeah. So now mapping is correct. So now let us start load 1 once again on source. So start load 1. So now when I do info load 1, now our initial load will get complete quickly because it does not have much data. It has only 4 records. See, it is running now. It will run in sequential manner. So it is already completed. Info load 1, if you see, it is already completed now. See, it is stopped now. It is stopped in EMP1 and record 7. So now when we go to target GGate2, we do select star from load 2, sorry, DEPT2. 4 records have been successfully inserted. Select star from EMP2. 7 rows initial load is successfully done. Now this initial load ours was completed quickly. However, it depends. Suppose you have 10,000 million rows. This initial load will take lot of time. Also, this initial load requires lot of network bandwidth. For performing the initial load, your network bandwidth should be good. So this initial load is generally recommended using Goldengate only when you have small amount of data. You don't have much data to transfer. If it is big data, suppose there are rows in 10 millions or 100 millions rows. So if you are performing this initial load using Goldengate, the data will flow over the network and you can consider how much network bandwidth it will require. So Oracle always recommend the Goldengate. You all have provided the initial load. However, it should be used only in cases where data is small, not for big data. Also, the initial load should be performed. What is the process of performing the initial load? So initial load is performed in the same order you are providing the tables in the parameter file. So DEPT1 initial load will be first done until and unless it gets completed. Then only EMP1 initial load will start. So the initial load is performed in the same order as you are provided into parameter file. That's why whenever you are loading the whenever you are doing initial load between tables having primary key and unique key relationship, primary key and foreign key relationship, in that scenario first you should mention the primary key table and next you should mention the foreign key table. Otherwise, what will happen if you do the initial load of foreign key first and then initial load of primary key table? Your initial load process will fail. The reason being the parent record is not found. So the initial load is performed in the same order you are providing in the parameter file. Another thing is you can perform the initial load till particular SCN as well. So in the parameter file, you can use the where clause. We are going to discuss the data filtration technique in our next session. You can use the where clause over here and you could give after CSN and in the parameter file, and from till that point your initial load will be completed automatically. So initial load, how you do? The main prerequisite is between source and target. The first and foremost prerequisite is the structure of table should be present on both source as well as target. In case of export import, it is not mandatory. Goldengate initial load is meant only for doing the data transfer. It cannot do the metadata transformation from source to target. And another important thing to keep in mind is this initial load should be performed only for small tables. For big tables you can use. It is not that you cannot use. But consider a scenario wherein you have huge table and if you are sending it over the network, it could cause network jam. And suppose the network goes down in between, what happens? Your initial load process will stop. Then you'll have to restart it once again. Also, while giving the tables, you have to keep the relationship between parent table and child table. So parent table should be loaded first, then the child table.
Ashish, can we use compression while transferring big tables?
See, Goldengate transfers just the data. So there is no possibility to use the compression over here. So whatever data is there on the source table, suppose there are 10 rows. So data is not transferred in megabytes or bytes or gigabytes. Data is transferred in form of rows over here. So you can see info load 1. In fact, you can check the same kind of statistics which are generated while we perform the normal online chain synchronization. The same kind of statistics are generated in this scenario as well. You can check the stats. Over there it will show you that so far 100 inserts have been transferred. So far 500 has been done. 10,000 million rows have been transferred successfully. Okay. So in the next session, we are going to continue on this and we are going to discuss about data filtration and transformation technique using Oracle Goldengate.